The icon for the control center is a neuron cell. He is the first male alter operator to be released. As of now, there is a total of 16 operators with beauty marks. Of them, only Errato, Myrtle and Black Knight have 2. Columbia's coin is the dollar. Despite how she acts in her 3-star version regarding training, she went on to become the Doberman version for sniper trainees. Her module is the first instance of a character from an outside source to be mentioned in the main game, Dahlia. CC banners have a number beneath them. Easy to see, I know, yet I noticed it until recently. To this day, Tomokazu Sugita has not voiced an operator. Not so much a fact, rather I am surprised he has yet to lend his voice to the roster. He doesn't use his sword at all. Even Carnelia nunsheets her for her E2 and skill tree, while Events is merely for decoration. She is the only Sancta who refers to her race as angels. These are ideas for her first skin's avatar. As you can see in the last one, her voice actress might have influenced it a bit. Apparently, they are the ones in charge of reviewing the thesis of those students in Rhodes. Her name is a wordplay of Alice, when pronounced in Japanese.
Alice Iris.
She is the first character whose ears emote with her expressions. Anura are not related to Aegis. The misconception was born due to blue poison being related to Iberia, which in turn is related to the sea. The real home lies in the jungles of Sargon. There are only 3 characters who received a skin on release: Ash, Tachanka, and April. Soon, there will be 4. Her desserts were often from Nedopound not only due to her poisonous nature, but because she has a rather eccentric predilection for vibrant colors. She improved though. In Dorothy's vision, the device keeping the pioneers connected to the hub looks very similar to a Nerf gear. The crystals in her forearm haven't been shown in any media besides her E2 art. That is, until a new 3D model of her appeared in Japan's 3rd anniversary event. She has a slightly surprised look in her summer skin splash art. This is because she wasn't supposed to bite the apple she was given. The image in her record medal is a Nazca line, specifically that of the Hummingbird. Speaking of medals, each one of them comes with the name of the operator they belong to. Each of the guitars in the modern music rehearsal room have owners, those being Doberman, Blue Poison, Muse, Leto, Firewatch, Liskram, Platinum, Soar, Courier, and of course, Vigna. By this point, Rhine Labs is pretty much under the artistic direction of Nori Setsi. Just now I get the point. Her habit of loving baths is so well known, she often gets perfumed soaps as gifts, to the point she has piles of them by now. The word animal doesn't seem to exist in Terra. Any way to refer to fauna uses the suffix beast instead, with the exception of fish and insects. While powerful in their own right, Terran guns are considered to be way weaker than those from Earth. They will do any work, except detective work, in a detective agency. They seem to be very quiet when walking, surprising people with their sudden appearance. Took a shortcoming by her designer to confirm that she has a tail. However, you can actually see it in-game, during her top animation. She brews some mean coffee. She is pretty much Terra's version of John Wick. Basis for an alter writer. A continuation from the previous video. The reason she wasn't expelled from her school despite having 17 explosions under her belt is because each and every one of them were accidents. I personally surprised I have to point this out, but Cooking Tidbits, A1 Team, and Records of Originium are considered canon. Which brings me to... she might be the one who beagled with meat in the Bolivar March. Various pieces of furniture hold bits of lore which give hints at how certain operators act when outside of combat. However, unlike skins, most of the furniture pieces and themes are quite likely non-canon. Otherwise, it will imply we have things like Team Rainbow's gear, Jen's office, and even Dorothy's experimental transmitter. He is called Avalanche at Test by the White Empress. In the Dozoles event, there is a reason why the high tide damaged all units. The water is so dirty it became toxic. While still in contact with Rhodes Island, the team seems to have formed a new R6 under Mailander. He became an army dealer, not for the money, neither to flee Columbia, but to track down the people responsible for his brother's demise. Her module has a little face on its screen. Considering its current clauses with Columbia, it seems that Sammy will also be influenced by Alaska. The Eyes 2 item, the Supreme Ring, might remind us of the famous piece of jewelry from Middle-earth, yet its description makes it more in line with the Ring of the Nibelung, which also inspired the One Ring. Despite having concluded, you were still able to use the Gear Trading Center, get more car parts, and even trade them for LMD. In the main menu's backgrounds, the Doctor is always looking in front of them, the only exception being the Mystic Sea, where they are looking at the ocean. She's Bargaulish. There is a bot account in Twitter dedicated to spam memes about Arknights, and while it's all fun and giggles, sometimes it manages to deliver pieces which are downright canon to the lore. In Annihilations, it doesn't matter how many enemies get through the blue box, but rather how many you get rid of. So long the number of eliminated enemies hits 400, it counts as a proper clear. Of course, you can only watch this in Annihilation 14. As of Dorothy's vision, some of the operators' speeches were modified, either to make it easier to understand or to go in line with what they are actually saying. Sadly, this means they also modified Shaw's rap speech. Horeopathy can also be transmitted by antepartum transmission, which is the same way newborn can get infected with disease such as AIDS. In base, you can select any of the elevator shaft. It does nothing, but is a neat little detail. Her tattoo was applied sometime after Grand Chief returns, but before the ideal city. In the Zeroetza's room set, it is possible to have one operator stuck in the background. He has the first true counter skill in the game. However, there is a reason for it. He can barely see anything in that helmet. She seems to dislike the color black, since it was the color which chased her away from Ursus. She is pretty much Terra's version of Quetzalcoatl, another female one for the pile. Also, she seems to be carrying one of Rhodes' infected monitors, so you know what that means. Violent tendencies aside, she is considered the pinnacle of Aegir culture. She was the first character to look towards the fourth wall, in both her idle and tap animation. She considers Rhodes' pay to be minuscule in comparison to her previous job. Technically, Beanstalk's metal crabs are the first iteration of an enemy pet becoming playable. She can camo AoE attacks. No, really. Her working at Rhodes is not only to get revenge on Phil, her faculty's mascot, but also to look for ways to solve conflicts with the infected as a whole, as to not give rise to another reunion. He might have joined Rhodes to make enough money to buy a house. He was probably nowhere near as smart as his fellow directors, as all he did was have others do the work for him, while covering it with charisma and sweet talking. We even got confirmation of this, as it is shown that, while everyone earned their place at Rhine Labs, he bought his place in the company. No surprise he was manipulated so easily by 3 different factions during the event. The Rhodes Island render has a human figure for scale. Minos doesn't have an Aegean sea, they have an Aegean plain. Apparently, I could be wrong, these two seems to be sleeping together. Or at the very least they are close enough that Great Throat is constantly being waken up by Blaze. To this day, nobody knows what the followers are following.